Good evening, dear listeners, and welcome to this fireside chat with myself and Melissa of Haunted UK Fiction. Hello, Melissa.
Hello, Stephen.
We're going to have a bit of a chat and a bit of a conflab, and we're going to go through a few points, a bit of an introduction of who we are and how we met and how Haunted UK Fiction actually came about. So would you like to take it from here and go through a little bit of how we actually met?
Absolutely. We met, Steve, this is so nerdy. We met in a podcast network.
We did?
Yep, we were introduced by a mutual friend who was in the podcast network, invited me to join. I think perhaps you had started this. It was called BooPod, the BooPod network of true crime and paranormal podcasts. And immediately we I think gravitated toward each other's work, and we worked on collaborations as a whole with other members of the team, but also with each other, with each other's podcasts.
We did, yeah. We did a number of things as a whole group. We did some collective Halloween specials and things like that. I can't remember how many were in the actual group at the time. I think there was 13 or something like that. It was quite. There were quite a few of us in there, but yeah, gravitated kind of towards each other in the sense of I really got into your music and your podcast, The Skylark Bell. I really enjoyed listening to it. I thought it was fantastically written, beautifully narrated, and I was absolutely enthralled by the music as well, because it was kind of not something that I'd not so much had not heard before, but it was something that you don't hear very often, and I was intrigued by it. So we both also had kind of similar interests as far as the paranormal was concerned, but you were more rooted in fiction, whereas I was more rooted in factual stories, if you like. And that's literally how we kind of got to know each other in the sense of podcasting, in the sense of how we would collaborate musically together. I mixed and mastered a number of Melissa's songs, and we kind of built up that I suppose trust between each other, working together.
Yes, it takes a lot to hand your work over to somebody.
Yeah,
which I think is why I always express so much gratitude to the writers who send their stories in. We'll touch on that a little bit later, but that's part of the point, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So let's move forward a little bit now to Haunted UK Fiction. Why did we do it? Why did we get this podcast together and push this out into the ether for everybody to discover? What were the reasons behind us doing this? First off, I've had a number of stories come into Haunted UK podcast that have been written on a fictional basis, and even without going too deeply into it, the stories have been really good, but they have no home in Haunted UK podcast. And I think this was something that we were chatting about for a little while. And we kind of decided to, well, we had a chat about it first, didn't we? Did it have a place? Could we get it off the ground? Would there be any attraction from people who would gravitate to this podcast and send their stories in? And I think you were a little bit nervous at first.
Oh, yes. That's just part of my personality.
Right. Okay.
I worry about things. Yes, I was nervous. I was, again, it's hard to hand your work over to somebody. So I think that's why from the start we put such an emphasis on the respect and that we would show the work that would be sent to us.
Yeah.
Earning that trust from people. So. But yeah, you're right. You had stories with being sent to you that had no home. That's how my whole podcast started. The Skylark Bell. I had these stories, these essentially novels I'd written that had no home. I didn't know how to go about publishing. I'd heard it was really difficult anyway. And I started a podcast from scratch with no idea how to do that. And it was a lot of work. It was very labor intensive. It was a huge learning curve, but it did very well. I think part of what in Haunted UK Fiction I was hoping for, and you and I discussed this as well, was let's provide that platform for other writers maybe in the same boat who have these stories laying around. They don't really know what to do with them. They don't have an outlet for them. And let's avoid them having to build a podcast from scratch. Let's just provide that platform. We have the know-how now. We have the background in it, certainly the equipment, the talent, I think. So that was part of the impetus for starting this.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of come back and circle back on a point that you made about having the opportunity, because that was something that we spoke about. Mm-hmm. If any of you out there in podcast land have written a story, or you are a musician, or you are a scriptwriter, a budding scriptwriter, or you are a creative in any way, shape or form, you will have an idea of just how difficult it is, or you will at some point in your life previously have thought to yourself, if only I could have got somebody to listen to my music and record it. If only I could have got somebody to listen to this story. If only I knew somebody that could do this. Now, Melissa and myself have been in this boat plenty of times before, but we've, as Melissa has said, we've actually done this now. So it was that, I suppose, that maybe a responsibility in a sense of making our knowledge, if you like, and our abilities available to kind of bring these opportunities forward to the people who didn't have these opportunities, if you like, and never had somebody that could record an audio format story for them, who couldn't record a piece of music for them. And this was one of the things that I really, really gravitated to with this. It was if only I'd have had that chance, and we both really, really agreed on that. Again, we also have a philosophy about the podcast, which I think is very, very important, because this is completely different to Haunted UK. As far as a factually based paranormal podcast is concerned, because as Melissa's touched on, these particular pieces of work, they're not our property. They're the writer's property. And we're very, very, very much rooted in, again, a responsibility to the writers, aren't we?
Yes.
Yeah. We want to do them justice and give them support. And that's really important.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Again, it comes back, I'll say it a third time, but to people entrusting their work to us. I also think that when you write a work of fiction, I could be wrong. I'm basing it on myself, I guess, here, but there's a little piece of you in there somewhere. And so you're handing that little piece of yourself over to somebody else to then essentially distribute to the world in a way. So again, it can be very scary. A lot of the emails that come through are people, I'm not really a writer. If you don't want to use it, that's okay. And we've managed to somehow work every story in that's been sent to us. It can be very, very frightening, can't it? Absolutely.
It is a frightening experience to put something out there that you've written or created yourself.
Being a creator is hard.
It is, yeah. It is. There's always that. You're kind of out there on your own, aren't you? There's nobody out there with you to give you support in that sense. It's your piece of work. If it falls flat on its face, it's you that has to kind of stand there and say, yep, didn't work. We need to move on to something else, or we need to just forget it entirely. And I've certainly felt that way a number of times during Haunted UK's run so far. But so we have a responsibility to the writer to treat their work with respect, and we tell their stories to the best of our ability. Now that goes beyond sticking a microphone in front of either myself or Melissa, or we've actually got I don't know whether you've scheduled it in season 2 or season 3, but a chap that's actually written in, a really good author actually, and he's already recorded his own story.
Yes, I believe that'll be in season 3.
In season 3.
Yes.
And so that gives you, again, a little bit of an outline of, this isn't a rigid format in the sense of it's not solely myself or Melissa that will read these stories. If there is someone out there that's got a great voice and a great delivery and they're confident in doing it, we've got no problem in giving you the kind of the stage, if you like, and we'll handle the rest. But there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the background as well. A lot of stuff.
Yes. I want to touch, just since we're talking about it, on Leah Thorley, who she had a story in season 1. She'll be back in seasons 2 and 3, and she also narrates her own stories beautifully. So it is something we're open to. We're flexible. We're learning as we go, in a sense. We know about podcasting. We know about being creative. But we like to take feedback from people and ideas from people and see how we can work those things in.
Yeah. So what are our goals, Melissa? What are the goals of the show? And this is something that you, who handles a massive chunk of the admin, you have to send all of these goals out literally to every single author because we have to give them, or give yourselves, if you're a writer listening to this, we have to kind of give you a framework that you're going to understand. As we touched on earlier, this is still your work. You are the sole owners of this. So, yeah, what do we provide? What do we do? Well, let's go into a little bit of detail about that, of what we actually offer.
Yeah. So quickly, I want to touch on one other thing as we're going into this. One of the challenges I've been encountering is balancing the approach between the writers, who are such a huge, huge part of this podcast. It wouldn't exist without the writers, but it also wouldn't exist without the listeners. No. And not all the listeners are writers. And so even this conversation, we have to create that balance of speaking to the writers and speaking to the listeners.
Yeah.
And so that's part of the goal, is to find kind of that balance of, who do we somewhat cater to on social media? Who do we speak to when we're doing these chats? It has to be twofold. But I think one of the primary goals is obviously to provide a platform for writers to share their work that feels safe, that feels comfortable. They can trust in the quality of the product that we'll be putting out. You are brilliant at audio, at mastering, mixing, editing, all those things, narrating. So I think that's something that we've kind of established in season 1. We'd love to continue to inspire writers who either haven't felt confident enough to share their work. If that's you listening right now, please don't be afraid. We're very nice, I promise. And we have been blown away by some of the stories that came in that people just wrote off the cuff, or it's been sitting in a drawer. Yeah, I wrote this a few years ago, I never did anything with it. My partner said I should send it in. It's amazing, so don't be afraid. If you're not a professional, that does not matter to us. Casual writers, people who send in something they wrote in the 90s, or published authors who are currently finding success, they've all sent stories in. They've all been treated equally, and that's a goal too. On the listener side, we want to bring great stories to the audience. Simple as that. People love a good, either a ghost story or a paranormal story, and that's the goal for the listeners, is to provide them with something they're going to enjoy listening to, something unique, original. They haven't heard it somewhere else before, and it's produced in high quality. It's enjoyable to listen to. And the last thing, to me, and you can pipe in, obviously, Steve, if you have your own thoughts, is to create a community, a supportive, inspiring community. I've noticed even on our social media, some of the writers commenting on each other's stories or sparking a little back and forth in the comments. I think that's beautiful. I think that's fantastic. There's a space for everybody. It doesn't have to be dog eat dog in the creative world. People have infinite capacity to take in creative work. So why not build each other up and inspire each other? And that goes for listeners as well, interacting with the writers. Everybody so far has been really approachable. I think that's a big part of who we want to be.
Yeah, I think I've also found as well that, in a sense, it really doesn't matter whether the stuff is factual or fiction. You know, coming from the Haunted UK podcast side to the fiction side, it has taught me that a really, really good story is worth its weight in gold. It's as simple as that. It's worth its weight in gold. And myself narrating them, reading them, I've mentioned this to one of the authors who we're both quite friendly with, and he's a great guy. And he's written a series of stories that, you know, we've only covered a tiny handful of them, but there may be a few more coming up. And I've mentioned to him a few times that it's completely different to reading a script of Haunted UK podcasts. You're able to kind of get into a character, and I know I sound like a darling here, you know, I'm going to tread the boards in the theatre, but it's really, really true. You kind of get the opportunity to kind of get into a character and get into a space and really let yourself go, and it's a brilliant experience. And that's another thing what you were saying, Mel, about giving great stories and a great product to the listener. That's really important to me. It's creating a really, really good experience for you people listening out there, where you can, I don't know, get on the train or get in the car and go to work, or you can go and walk the dog or something like that, and you've got, I suppose, a friend in your ear reading you a really, really great story, and it helps you pass some time. And we've had some wonderful comments from listeners saying, it's really helped me out. You know, we've had some really, really lovely comments about the narration, about the writing, about even going as far as people would say these are the little things, but to me they're not. It's the background communication where Melissa creates this brilliant bridge in, you know, email and communication, and the writers feel as if they're part of this community with us just as much as the listeners do, and that's tremendously important. But all of this takes time.
Oh my goodness.
And all of this takes a lot of hard work. I cannot stress to you how much work this takes. So, as well as doing Haunted UK podcast, Melissa was also doing Skylark Bell. At the same time, we both have full-time jobs. And at the same time, we are both in different parts of the world. So we are separated by around 6 hours, really. And our schedule is incredibly punishing. It really is punishing to keep this going and to keep the communication going. So let's have a chat about that. Let's have a chat about scripts, scheduling and things like that.
And lack of sleep, yes.
Lack of sleep.
Yeah, so as Steve just mentioned, we both work full-time jobs outside of podcasting, and we do have the time difference. A lot of the writers are in the UK, so just side note, if you send an email and it takes me a while to reply, it may be that you sent it at 2 a.m. my time. But the way there are, I think, two components that make this work really well. One is we have divided the tasks in I think, a very intuitive way, and we can touch on that in a sec. The other thing is we really strive to get ahead. I don't think we could keep doing this if we didn't. So right now, all of season 2, the scripts are ready to go. Steve, I think you've even maybe started recording some of them.
Yeah.
The entire schedule through, I believe it's May, is set. All the Instagram artwork is done for all those episodes. All these December episodes you've been listening to all month for Dark December were recorded and uploaded to the distributor weeks ago. So that's been a huge part of how we stay afloat. Division of work is pretty much as follows. I take care mostly, I mean, we there's overlap, but mostly I'll take care of communication, emails with the writers, social media, organizing the scripts with the intros and outros and the bios from the writers, things like that, scheduling, distribution. marketing, outreach, and a little bit of narration, but I do love how you narrate. So,
Thank you.
yes, you're welcome. And Steve, you go ahead with what your role is.
As you said, Melissa, there's a little bit of overlap here and there. I think if any of you get the chance out there, please go and listen to Skylark Bell, because Melissa is an incredible narrator as well as a writer. And you've narrated a few of the Fan Fiction Friday episodes, and I think there was a tinge of fear in the sense of, because, is the British public, which is the majority of the listeners at the moment, I would say, we are reaching out there into the world a little bit more, but are you going to be as welcoming with a different voice, if you like? And it's proved not a problem at all. Absolutely not a problem at all. So, yeah, there is overlap. And as I mentioned earlier, we do encourage that if anybody wants to narrate their own story, we can handle the audio, if you like, to try and, if it's substandard is a rude way to put it, but if it's if there are a few things that need to be done to it, a little bit of cleaning up and things like that, we can do that. But yeah, I'm the main narrator, if you like. I've got a hell of a lot of equipment, so it gets recorded. I will go from the script that Melissa puts through to me, which is the writer's words, if you like, but Melissa will add any type of sound effect or any voice overdub or anything like that needs to go in, and I will handle that as well. It then gets mixed, mastered, and exported. I'll handle a lot of the graphic design as far as the artwork that goes with the episode, but Melissa also, she's a very, very talented designer who handles the artwork that goes out to a lot of the social media side of things like so. There is that overlap, but it is very important, as you've said, Melissa, that we have that separation in a sense of work. There is, we do delegate, very, very successfully and work together very, very well. But what's the process? How does all of this work? How do you as writers out there send something in, and how does it get put back out there? What's the story, if you like? How do we do it?
So, typically we'll get an email. Sometimes it's a direct message on social media with either somebody inquiring about sending a story in, or they'll just send in their story. Either way, we'll review it and assess perhaps if it needs any work or if it's just fine to go as is, get permissions from the writer, get them to fill out our form, which has, information about their bio, upcoming works, preferred name, influences, things like that. Then we take that story and turn it into a script, which sounds like we just copy and paste whatever they send us. That's not at all.
No.
There's a little more to it than that. But we'll create, intro and outro. Like you said, we have to figure out the sound effects, which sounds really simple, but it's easy to overload a story with sound effects or to space them too far apart where they just sound like they're accidental. So there's a bit of an art to it. Knowing which sound effects are findable and usable is part of it too.
Yeah.
So there's that part, and then just organizing them all. I have a folder for each writer. Inside is the bio that they've sent in, and then slotting the stories into a schedule that makes sense. When we first started releasing our teasers before we officially launched the podcast, one of the stories we released was very, very short, and we had feedback from a listener, kindly constructive criticism of, well, if they're all this short, I might wait till several have been released before listening. And we thought, okay, maybe the really short stories need their own space.
Yeah.
And we created Flash Fiction Fridays. And so now we have a great balance of, hey, here's a full episode, oh, here's a shorter one. And people know what to expect. We have a space for those stories when they're sent in. We're working through how to release longer form projects.
Yeah, we do have a number of those, don't we?
We do. Yeah. We're sitting on a few. Yeah. We just need to find a way to... We're getting there. I think season 2 will start doing that.
Yeah.
But I'm digressing. So we get the scripts, we get everything scheduled. Then it falls onto you, Steve, to do the recording, mixing, mastering, exporting. Then the episode gets distributed to Patreon and Ko-fi.
Yeah.
Which is something you do.
Yeah.
And then our Spreaker, which is our podcast distributor. Then we have to do promo so people know it exists, so people know what's coming. And then once that's done, generally I will circle back with the writers to see if they have more stories they'd like to send in. And that has proved really promising as well. We've had a lot of repeat stories sent in from different writers, and it's always exciting. We build a rapport with them. We genuinely care. I feel attached to everybody who shared a story with us in a certain sense. It's a lovely feeling. It's just a really, really great feeling to do this.
Again, it comes down to that community, doesn't it, that has been created. And we also have, again, that community of listeners, if you like. We've got I'm going to throw a shout out here. Demonic Dan, he's always there throwing comments in, always incredibly supportive. But as Melissa said, I want to touch back on, we get this great rapport between a number of writers who will actively comment on each other's work. And that's really, really great to see. And again, it's so constructive. It's a really, really brilliant thing. Coming back to that biggest challenge, it's jobs, it's time, it's the appropriate space that we have to carve out to record, to do all of this admin in the background whilst balancing that work life as well that we still have to do. But we are making it work, and it's an absolute pleasure, to be honest, to be able to get to season 2, but not just get to season 2 and start recording it, but we're looking way beyond that. We've had such a brilliant response from writers that we're looking so far into the future for this show, and as we briefly touched on, we have a number of novellas that we are at the moment trying to develop into those longer format episodes, maybe dedicating an entire run, if you like, to a certain novella, to split it up into so many episodes every weekday on a different day, if you like. But we're gonna kind of get back to that, and we're kind of working behind the scenes. So who are we looking for, Melissa? Is this? I know we've mentioned it's open to any writer, but we really need to touch on this, don't we? That you don't have to be published. You don't have to have had a book out or have something on Amazon or something. We're reaching out to everybody.
We're wide open. We're also very I guess flexible. This comes to mind. We had one story sent in that I said to Steve, I really don't know how to fit this in. And the person who sent it in knew that going into it. It has a tinge of comedy to it. Of course, this is all centered around paranormal, supernatural stories, sci-fi, fantasy, that type of thing. This specific story had a bit of that, but it was a comedic angle, and I'm just going, how are we going to fit this in? And I won't say too much, but I love a puzzle. I loved Tetris. I'm giving my age away a little bit. I love trying to find a way to make things work and thinking outside the box. And now that story in question, which was sent, I think a few months ago now, is going to appear in season 2 as an April Fool's story. So, again, we can make it work most of the time. Some stories have needed some editing. That's fine, and we always send. If we make any edits beyond something very minor, we always send it back to the writer for approval first. But just because you feel like maybe your writing isn't the best, if you've got a great story, I don't want to say we don't care, but don't let that stop you. Don't get hung up on that. Send it in anyway. We can work on it. And And we're really genuinely open to all kinds of writers, and you will all be treated equally. We respect anybody who shares their work. We know it's not an easy thing to do. So, again, it's that don't be scared. It's a paranormal podcast, but don't be scared.
And again, coming back to the topics, if you've got something that is really out there, that you've written a story about, that you think it's a topic that has a slight sci-fi tinge to it, and it's got something else, don't be afraid to send it in. We're not just locking this down to the paranormal and sci-fi. If it's got, they're the main things. If it's got even just that bare thread, that you have in that story, don't think that this isn't enough to get it published. It is. Send it in, and we'll happily take a look at it and work with you to get it, the submission completely polished up, recorded, and we'll get it out there. This is it's a process that we're still learning, but it's a process that we feel incredibly rewarded by doing this. That's one of the main things I think that I've found.
Well said. Let's go through a few of the stories that we've had as well, because we do want to touch on a few of these and have a little bit of a kind of a recap, if you like, and I suppose a bit of a walk down memory lane. Our very, very first one. So we're going right the way back now to the actual the teasers, but the very first one that we had in. And I really loved this. Me too.
Yeah, this was HMP Signals End by James West. And this was just your really good old ghost story. It was a proper good old ghost story, but it was a ghost train.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah. I thought it was brilliant. James was lovely. It was one of those where I started reading, and I'll be honest, sometimes, again, because of the job, I'll kind of skim through, see how it's written, see where the story's going, and kind of make a quick call as to, whether we can use it. But with this first story, I actually read through the entire thing. It kind of sucked me in. It was fantastic. And James actually sent 2 stories at the same time. We did release HMP Signals End as a trailer, or as a teaser episode, rather. And his other story will be coming in season 2, so stay tuned.
Now, this was... This was the 2 stories, if you like, that gave us that bit of constructive criticism. That wasn't a criticism of the story in any way, shape, or form. But this was Leah Thorley's stories, Akuri Inu and Rain, and both of these were really short, but they were great.
Yes.
But it was one of those that, what do we do with short form stories? And that was when you said, look, why don't we move them to something else, and we'll call it Flash Fiction Friday, and we can handle these types of stories in that way. And they've been a brilliant success, to be honest. But Leah Thorley is a lady who narrates her own stories, and she's got a great voice for this. She really, really has. She reads beautifully, and fingers crossed, in January at some point, I will be actually meeting up with Leah to give her a bit of a hand with her recording environment and things like that. And there's something in the future that we are working on that is still going to take quite a while, but we are working on it. And Leah will probably be involved in some way, shape or form because of her beautiful narration. So keep your ears peeled for that. Let's move on to 27 by Alice Griffiths. This was another favourite. This was another great one as well.
Fantastic. Yep. Unique. Again, it's the writing. What I love about this is the varied voices and perspectives. These stories are written in very different ways. We keep it cohesive in the way we present them. But each story... You know how sometimes you put on a record by a band and the songs will feel very homogenous. And other times you'll put on a record by a band and it sounds like that band, but every song is really different. to me, that's what this podcast is about.
Yeah.
We have our style, we have our vibe, but every story has its own voice, and that's down to the writers. So yes, Alice Griffith's 27, I thought was a brilliant story.
Yeah, it was a great one to read as well. It had again, I think this was kind of the getting into the character thing. I think this was when it kind of started, when I was beginning to realise, right, you're narrating this. You're not just reading it. You're narrating this, and I really enjoyed 27. Let's move on to Craig Forster, who was next with New House, Old Demons, and again, this was a good old-fashioned possession story.
Yes.
This was demonic possession.
Yes, and this is one of those that had. This is one of the stories that sparked this whole project, because that story came to Haunted UK originally.
It did, yeah. It came to Haunted UK, and it was a good story. It was a great story, but I didn't know what to do with it. And as Melissa said, this was the one that really started to turn the screw, if you like, and to get that idea going, and that's really where this whole thing was born from. I think this is one of your favourites as well, Melissa, Ellen Forkin.
Yes, Rattle Chains I loved from the start. It really painted a picture for me, this story. I just love the title too. I think it's a comment that was left on social media a couple times as well. People love the title, but Rattle Chains was a good old-fashioned, I don't know if ghost is the right word, but I'm going to call it a ghost story. Really unique, unsettling kind of a story.
Then we move again. Completely move again to another, a completely different topic, a different landscape for this story. This was Blasted Heath by Lewis Darley, that took place in a theatre. A guy who was a very, very well-known actor in Britain. Obviously, this is all fictional, but he's in a play. The name of the play shall not be mentioned.
Nope.
Hamlet. But yeah, again, a completely different landscape than what came before, and that's that was Blasted Heath. The next one, I think, was one of the first ones where I actually got to the end narrating it, and it kind of really got to me, actually.
Yes.
Yeah, it did get to me, and that's Bloodsuckers by James Alderson. A vampire story, but it was a vampire story that kind of turned it completely on its head.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I really, really enjoyed this.
Yeah, they weren't the bad guys. No,
they weren't the bad guys at all. And if you haven't listened to it, please listen to it, because the ending is quite touching, actually. And it was really good. Let's talk about Tim Hale.
Yes, so this was our official podcast launch. So up until then, we had released these teaser episodes. And then we launched with Shadows in the Berry Gothic. Now, Tim Hale, we do have a longer form work from him, actually 2 of them now, that we are sorting out how to release. Yeah. Shadows in the Berry Gothic is set in Spain. And it just had a really unique flavor. The pace, I thought, was fantastic.
I think there was also the way the writing was as well. You could see yourself. You could see the streets, and you could see the house. You could see the apartment where the couple was staying, and where this was set. Yeah, as you said. So this was the first story for season 1.
Yep.
Let's move on to our next one. And this one, absolutely.
It's the story that made everybody cry.
Yeah, it really got to me, and this is by Robert McDermott. It shows up when it's needed. I personally had a lot of comments from the people who I work with who listened to this, and every single one of them said, "Oh my God." It really got to me, and it was a great story.
Beautifully written and thought-provoking.
Yeah, very, very thought-provoking. It dealt with a topic that is very, very tragic, but is unfortunately quite commonplace in our world that we live in at the moment. We move on to the strange town or village of Willoughby.
I love Willoughby.
Willoughby. Now, this was a story called Shortcuts.
Yes.
But we also straight away afterwards we did a triple for this.
Yes, we did. We wanted to kind of give Willoughby a strong introduction because it's a really curious, mysterious, strange little entity of its own, I feel like.
Yeah, it's a place that we know very, very little about. We don't know that much about the author either, to be honest. So,
no.
But we had shortcuts. Again, I've got a very dear friend who I work with who again came straight round after listening to Shortcuts and got hold of me and said, "Oh my God, that was fantastic." Yeah. Then we had Jack's Pool. Again, obviously set in Willoughby, but completely different to what Shortcuts was. Really enjoyed that. It was a strange one, Jack's Pool.
Yeah.
What you'll find with the Willoughby stuff as well is you've got kind of a set of recurring characters. Now we're still dipping our toes into the Willoughby world, if you like, and we're getting to know these characters now as we're getting deeper into it. And then we came to the third story in this trilogy of the introduction to Willoughby, which was another one like Robert McDermott's. I think that kind of got to a lot of people, yourself included.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
And it was The Big Top.
The Big Top.
Yeah.
If any of you listening have a child with special needs, this one will make you cry.
It was beautiful. Yeah, it was beautifully written.
I love the Willoughby. So if you take the time to look up the Willoughby website, there are, I believe it's 50, maybe even more than 50 now, stories to read. And each one is so incredibly unique in its approach. I look at Shortcuts. I don't even know how I would categorize that.
No.
And this is where, when you were saying earlier, it doesn't have to be ghosts or vampires or werewolves or sci-fi. It can be anything. That anything is, to me, Willoughby.
Yeah, it's an incredible mixture of fantasy and escapism, if you like. I think that's what Willoughby is. You can really get lost in Willoughby. There's a lot of escapism in Willoughby. The next one was this was written by you and actually narrated by you.
It was. And it was originally written in, I believe it was 2022 as a collaboration with you and Haunted UK podcast back in the day.
Yeah, this was based on a story that a friend's father had told me about. It was a ghost story that was set in, it was an old Victorian house in a cellar. And
a true story.
And this was a true story, yeah. This was a true story. And it always kind of gave me goosebumps. It was always one of those stories that really, really gave me goosebumps. And I decided to put that out. And this was the whole collaboration with the Boo Pod thing at the time, wasn't it? And I think, we kind of got together and you said, look, it'd be great if we could write this from the ghost's point of view. And that was something I'd never ever heard of before, and it was really, really great. And that went down a storm. That really went down a storm. Yeah, the listeners loved it, and you did a really great job narrating it. So again,
thank you.
Listen to the narration. Next one,
and the next one. Yeah, this is a complete coincidence. Was also written from the ghost's point of view. Mother Never Liked Dead Things by S.C. Fisher, which is
pretty bloody spectacular.
I loved it. I loved it. It's so creepy in a wonderful way.
It is a brilliant story.
Yes.
A really, really brilliant story.
Yeah.
Especially the tiny little details of the person being put in the chair and the crack.
Yeah.
Things like that. There are a lot of tiny details that S.C. Fisher puts into these stories that it doesn't only just put you kind of in the story, you're literally kind of sitting right in front of the people that are actually in the story. It's fascinating how she does it.
I've got the heebie-jeebies.
Yeah.
Is that an American thing, heebie-jeebies?
Heebie-jeebies.
Canadian? American?
Right, yeah, maybe Scottish.
Oh, there you go.
And next one, again, a completely different story to S.C. Fisher's Never Liked Dead Things, and a completely different story to the one that came next as well.
Yes.
To say variation is an understatement.
Yeah.
Glenn Quigley, Road Song.
Which I am going to have to check our emails. I think was the very first story to be sent in to us.
This was great.
I'm pretty sure.
This really gave me Twilight Zone vibes.
Yeah, I was thinking like that Americana, Twin Peaks, the diner. I loved it.
It's a great story. Again, give that a listen as well. Very, very talented guy as well. He's
oh my goodness, he's
an artist as well.
Yes, incredible.
TJ McLaughlin next.
Yep, Black Damp.
This was actually part of a book, wasn't it?
I believe it's. I think it was kind of the start of a book. If I'm not, and TJ, correct us if we're wrong. But I believe he's got the full book in the works now, because it does sort of end on a cliffhanger. But I couldn't stop reading that one. No. I just thought that was fantastic. I wanted to know what would happen next.
And again, TJ was, very, very kind enough to give us, a decent-sized chunk of Black Damp. To kind of wet your whistle, if you like, for the rest of it. And it's a brilliant story.
Absolutely.
Another Flash Fiction Friday, I think.
Yes. Echoes in the Mist by Michelle Little. Fantastic, kind of a Celtic lore sort of a vibe.
Again, completely different.
Yes. Yep, very atmospheric. That was great. I loved that.
One of my favourites next.
Yeah.
And I think it was one of these that... I'm going to quickly circle back to Big Top, Willoughby's Big Top, because I think that was the one where I can remember mentioning to you, I really got into it when I was reading it. And you kind of, your voice not so much changes to, you just embrace it, and you encourage it to come as you're reading it. When I got to the overcoat, to me, it's the personification of Hammer House of Horror. Old streets in Victorian London with the lamps and all of these kinds of things. It just encapsulates all of that. I absolutely adored this story. I really got into it as well. And it was brilliant, brilliantly written. Brilliantly written.
The minute I read it, I thought Steve's going to be all over this.
Yeah. I really did love that.
Yep, I thought it was great. And also from a North American perspective, this story is exactly how we picture, the UK.
Yeah.
Whether it's accurate or not today, this is how we picture it. You guys are all walking around in top hats, and there's fog, and and it's beautiful, and we love it.
We move on to An Opportunity, actually, next.
Yes, this was very exciting. Shall I say it? We were approached by Teresa Chung, who had written her first work of fiction and offered for us to have an interview, a sit down, a chat with her, and read actually a decent portion of it. I think it was the intro and maybe a chapter and a half or so that we read of Nightborn, her first fiction novel. And that conversation was, to me, fascinating because Teresa is very well known. She's got a strong background in published works of nonfiction. And when I asked her, how was this pivot to fiction, I thought for sure she would have such a strong backing from these publishers who have worked with her whole career. And the answer was, it's incredibly difficult.
Especially when you realise, especially in the UK, that Teresa's quite a well-known, I don't want to say TV celebrity or personality. She's not. She's what would you say? She's a consultant, if you like.
Consultant.
Yeah, a consultant about dreams. She does a huge amount of work studying dreams. She wrote an incredible book as well about ghost stories. And she's worked with some amazing people in parapsychology and psychology and ghost hunters and things like that. But she, even having that status, she couldn't get this book published. Her regular publishers, who publish countless books for her, absolutely countless books for her about dreams and things like that, literally turned her away and said, no, just go and write something about crystals and things like that. And, she was thinking, why can't I do this? This is an idea that I love. I've nurtured it. It's I think she said she'd been working on it for quite a while. It had been,
years,
and to be turned away by your publisher, but she made it happen.
Mm-hmm. She did.
She really, really made it happen. And that was a great interview. And, Nightborn. Buy it. Also, get in touch with Teresa if you like it, because she values your feedback as listeners and authors. So
she's lovely, very approachable.
She's a really, really lovely person. Our next one. Now, this was the first story of
Dark December.
Yes. A story called Driftstone Marsh by Jason Wells.
Love this.
Yeah, this was a great story.
Yeah.
Great setting, which was a house, wasn't it?
Like a Christmas party?
Yeah, it was a Christmas party. And a number of people at this Christmas party, and they're all having a chat about UFOs and things like that. And we're not going to go too deep into it. You really need to listen to it. Mm-hmm. But it was really, really, really interesting. And it's... What I found very interesting about this one was we had different opinions of how it ended.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. We'll let you...
We'll leave it there. We want to know your opinions of how it ended. Just email us or message us.
We're now going to move on to Mr. Jed Vesper.
Oh, my goodness. Jed and I have a great rapport emailing. Just a lovely, lovely person. And the stories are so beautifully horrifying and gory.
If you want a completely different view of Santa Claus, listen to the Flash Fiction Friday called Arena of Shadows.
Yes.
Do not let your kids listen to this if they want.
We should have put a warning on.
Yeah, you don't want to see that. They don't want to listen to a Santa Claus like this. His follow-up was
The Retribution of Parson Beelzebub Brown, which...
I love this.
Yeah.
I absolutely devoured this reading it. I thought it was fantastic. A real genius piece of writing for me, especially the service towards the end and what happens. We won't delve into it too much.
Listen to it.
But absolutely loved it. Next one was our first double episode, if you like.
I think so, yes. Yeah. We had to release it in 2 parts. Our December, I have to give Steve some props here because I thought I had scheduled December, and then I came to realize that 2 things. First of all, the Hollow Rooms was too long for 1 episode, so it became 2. And also, you guys have a lot of supernatural Christmas stories. They just kept coming in. And we were like, submissions are closed, like waving the white flag, but no, they kept flooding in. And we managed to, with one exception because it was a novella and we just didn't have space for it this season, but we managed to fit in all those Christmas stories. And the Hollow Rooms became a 2-part, fantastic, bizarre, creative, unique.
And there was a mixture of Halloween and Christmas. It was
heaven.
It was really, really well done. So thank you again, Ian Harris, for that. It was
more
great.
From him coming, and several of these actually in the future. Yeah.
Now, our next submission for the Christmas Dark December was The Lady of the Stairs by L.J. Alden. She's an American author.
She is, yes, somebody from my continent. Lovely person. She's written a couple of novels. This story that we released, The Lady of the Stairs, is adapted from one of those novels, The Poochie Riddle Mysteries, I believe. I'm sorry, Lisa, if I said that wrong. But yes, she's fantastic, and it's fun to have perhaps a voice from a different part of the world. I know in season 2 we've got a writer from Australia who has shared some of their work as well. So it was really great to be able to kind of have that, I don't want to say multicultural, but international aspect to our storytelling.
I think this gave me a little bit of Agatha Christie kind of vibes at the start of it when they come off that train and they're meeting the Scottish guy who owns the castle and stuff like that. It was really, really well written, and we had
there's a cool clairvoyant component to it that I love that kind of thing.
Another Flash Fiction Friday, one that I've got to alter the artwork on. I am sorry, Harry, about that. This is Harry Tabor, and this is a story called Running from the Christmas Tractor.
Yes. I did not know about Christmas tractors.
Oh, yes. Christmas tractor runs.
I said, Steve, what do you make of this? And he got it right away, of course. So now I know. Now I know what Christmas tractors are, and maybe someday I'll see them.
Next one, The Christmas Ghost.
That was me.
It was.
That one was pulled from The Skylark Bell. That was also written a few years ago. And that one, I suppose on a personal level, I'll just share, my mom passed away when I was very young, and Christmas for years was very, very difficult, well into adulthood, and I just felt like I kept waiting for her ghost to show up at the door, or maybe for her to show up at the door just for Christmas. And so that story, I don't think is about a literal ghost. I think it's about the ghost of nostalgia and grief. So yeah, that's what that one's about.
And you narrated it as well.
I did. Very cheerful.
I wish it could be Christmas every day. And this reminds me of, there's a song lyric in there somewhere. This is from the magical world of Willoughby.
Only Willoughby could write a story where someone cannot get rid of their tree.
And the Christmas tree, it just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming back. Again, brilliantly written.
Absolutely. More Willoughby coming in the future as well.
Had to do a bit of singing on it, which was strange. But yeah, loved this one. Absolutely loved it. Again, it was another descent into the world of Willoughby, and it was really, really great. The brilliant Robert McDermott again.
Yes, One Always Comes Back, which I believe he wrote... I don't want to say for us, but I think he was inspired to write it because we were looking for Christmas or holiday stories. Fantastic stories.
Oh, I love this.
Yep, remote kind of Scottish forest.
Yeah. Very creepy.
Very creepy.
Very creepy.
It's one of those creepy little village kind of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Way to end the year and a way to end our first season.
Think The Thing, but not in some research, scientific research centre, but in the Scottish Highlands or Scottish woodlands. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, I like that.
So what have we got coming up in season 2? What can we expect, Melissa?
So we're going to continue, of course, our weekly regular content and our Flash Fiction Fridays. We are working really hard to try and start delivering some of these longer forms. We're tossing around maybe like Series Sunday. So in addition to our regular weekly episode and our monthly, well, I'm sorry, Steve, I think in season 2 it's twice a month with the Flash Fiction Fridays.
Marvelous.
Sorry. But yes, trying to also work in these longer form stories because we have some really, really great ones. Again, we're just navigating our grueling schedules to try and get all this prepped and recorded. But that's something we're moving toward.
Yeah. And talking about moving toward things, hopes for the future. What have we got? What have we got in our minds that we have targets for, that we want to aim for the future of the show? Again, we kind of want to make this known to writers, potential writers, whoever you are, whatever level you feel you are. We would love a few stories about time slips, cryptids, folklore, some lore stories, and anything kind of fantasy based as well. In addition to all the other stuff that we get anyway, keep the ghost stories coming, keep the poltergeist stories, the demonic possessions, the doppelgangers, all of these.
The vampires,
all of these, keep them going. We want to continue and broaden, if you like, that community for writers and listeners to connect to, don't we, Mel?
Oh, absolutely. I've been loving that aspect of this, just connecting with these people and their creative work. It would be amazing down the road if we became a resource for literary agents and or publishers, if they maybe explored the podcast to find new writers, to find new voices.
Yeah, to find you.
Right.
Yeah, to find you people.
I would love nothing more than for someone who sent a story into us to find success in that world, if that's what they want. Some people are just doing it casually, and that's completely fine as well. But for those who are aspiring to do that, if we can give a leg up in some way... that
would be fantastic.
Yep, absolutely.
we also want to dive into the audio drama world, if you like. There are a number of shows, for me personally, that I really, really love. There's a multi-part series that is, I can't remember the name of the author. It's the Lovecraft Investigations, actually. That's what they're called. And it's a BBC audio drama with, aspects of fantasy and the paranormal. Immensely well done. And I've always wanted to try and have a crack at that. And a while ago, we kind of stumbled upon an idea, didn't we? We're not going to go too deep in.
No, let's not give away our idea just yet. But this was, years ago, we kind of began discussing this, and then life took over. But here we are now, and it's probably realistically a year or two out still, but we would love to attack this idea that we had.
Yeah.
I think it would be something people would love. And it is an audio drama project idea. We did have a writer reach out with their own audio drama script.
Yes.
So that it won't be season 2, but down the road, certainly that was
That's really
intriguing.
Exciting. Yeah,
yes.
that's very exciting.
I think listeners would love the story in particular was really great too. So, what else?
Different formats, really, that we'd like to, get into, if you like.
Yeah.
Found footage, maybe?
We're open to anything. Multiple perspectives. We've already mentioned guest narrators.
Again, yeah. If you feel that you've got the voice for it and you want to give it a go, please, just send in a sample of you reading. Or if, as the author that we haven't mentioned, I don't think we have mentioned him by name, but the author who has sent in his actual story that's already been narrated, just do it. The guy's got a great voice, so we've got no problem by broadcasting that at all. Not a problem at all. Use the podcast base, if you like, and use the listeners to get your stories out there. We're still learning about this. And that's another huge thing. We're one season in, currently recording season 2.
We're flying by the seat of our pants.
And we are learning. We're still learning.
We are. We love feedback.
Yeah.
Yes.
Constructive feedback.
Yes, please.
Yeah, constructive feedback, which we can, respectful feedback, which we can learn from. And,
absolutely.
Yeah, and digest and, hopefully give back.
Yeah.
Hopefully,
it may cause us to pivot like we did with the Flash Fiction Fridays.
Right. Flash Fiction Fridays created for super short episodes. Set expectation.
Yeah, well, I think it's important to set the expectation for people of what's coming their way. And also, speaking of learning, I was blown away by how many Christmas stories were sent in. And I thought, well, okay, season 2 launches in early February. Maybe we could have a creepy love story, Valentine's kind of. Not one.
Not one.
So you guys love Christmas and you don't love love. No. That's what I learned.
Where are your romantic bones?
Yes. So to wrap it up, should we talk about how the people listening to this can be part of the haunted UK fiction community?
Well, I think the first thing is it's word of mouth, isn't it?
Yeah.
Spread the word. If you're at work and you've got people that may be interested in the show, let them know. Tell them. Tell friends. Look us up on social media. Again, Melissa does an amazing job on social media promoting the stories and the authors and giving you a lowdown of what's coming up or what's already been released for you to catch up on. So, start there. Start spreading the word of mouth, and get on social media, I think.
Yes. For us to help the podcast gain visibility, to help us grow, connect with more listeners, connect with more writers, which gives, it's beneficial for everybody because then the people who sent in stories have a broader audience. Leaving a review and a rating on your preferred podcast platform is incredibly helpful. We can't stress this enough. It helps in the rankings and in our visibility on those platforms. It only takes a moment to do. If you have a moment, that's a huge way that costs nothing, that you can really help support us and spread the word.
Yeah, that's, again, that is a really, really important point. Also, we do have to talk about it. This isn't we're not begging for money here,
No.
but we do have Patreon and we do have coffee, and we have 2 tiers.
Yeah.
They're called Spooked and Possessed, and you not only get the entire back catalogue and ad-free episodes and early episodes of Haunted UK podcast, but you get exactly the same thing with Haunted UK Fiction. So you're getting 2 podcasts for one price on Patreon or coffee. You get, as I say, advanced episodes, you get ad-free stuff, you get access to both sets of back catalogues. There's also the Spreaker Supporters Club for additional and ad-free content as well, if you want to go on there. And I do have to give a nod to Spreaker, because we recently moved to Spreaker, who are, they're American-owned, but I think it's iHeartMedia own them, I think. But I do have to give a shout-out to Amy, who was the lady who got in touch from Spreaker. Their service has been fantastic. It really, really has, especially their support. So, get on Spreaker and have a look at some of their content as well. And last but not least...
Yes, try your hand at writing a story. And if you like what you've written, listeners are going to want to listen to it. So send it in. Don't be shy. Don't be scared. Maybe you already have something you've written, or maybe you just have this idea knocking around in your head. Get it on paper. That's as simple as that. Just start writing. Write badly at first. It's okay. But just get it on paper. Get your idea down. We're looking for great ideas and great stories. They don't have to be written perfectly. But that's the primary way, really. You can become part of this whole thing by just being part of the story with your own words.
Yeah, 100%. I couldn't have said that better myself. And with that, from both Melissa and myself, have a lovely Christmas, which is literally over now. But we hope you've drank and made merry and eaten lots of stuff. And we are wishing you a happy new year for 2026. And if you're out there and, as Melissa says, you've got that story just knocking around, or it's in an old laptop or something, revive it, get it out, send it in. And with that, have a happy new year from both myself
And me, Melissa. Happy New Year, everybody, from across the pond for most of you.